Do you feel like there's a huge difference in art direction when you are building things in the Web2 side and then now in the Web3 side? Do you think it's a huge difference in the way that you guys execute, the way that you guys ship product? Because right now in the Web3, that is the way I'm thinking about it. But again, this is just as an observer.
Yeah.
If I was running let's say if I was running an NFT project, I'm incentivized to think of right now, people have bought our tokens, bought our NFTs. Even though I could ship the whole product right now today, I may ship it in bits and pieces to leveraging on the timing of the market to affect the price, especially if this is the main way they get revenue for the business. Yeah, so I'm just curious, like from your point of view, especially working right now with Tom, and I will say that, in my view, and I'm biased, I still think that you guys are one of the leading Web3 companies in the world. Maybe a little bit under the radar, maybe not as much attention right now, but I do feel like you guys are building something quite meaningful in the space. Yeah, so I was curious, like from your point of view, from Tom's point of view, or like the team sentiment, like how are you guys navigating that?
Yeah, I think one of the big differences between actually I can't judge too much. Like I think every Web3 company has their mission, but obviously we have a very specific mission of what we're trying to do with this IP. It's the reason why Tom started this impact theory in general in the first place, which is, again, we want to live in a world where a child can, before they reach the age of 15, encounter growth mindset, because we think that mindset at the core of anything, before you encounter anything else in the world, it's how you think about the world, it's how you see the world. And we think that entertainment is the best way to execute on that. And so, again, NFTs is just another medium. It's just another technology. It just so happens to be the most innovative technology in the space that we're seeing and that we're interested in. So from a creative aspect, I don't know if anything necessarily changes, because quality is still going to be quality. We want to still make sure that we're putting in the most amount of effort into making sure longevity is what matters. Again, we can do some. I think we've learned this at least for me as a holder of all these projects. You can hype it, and even if you don't hype it, the community is going to hype it, right? Because they have incentive to do it. And again, double-edged sword. It's a great thing because you can get outward attention. People are going to be posting about you and doing all this type of stuff. But if the hype doesn't match the actual product, then it's actually bad for the price, right? And so, again, this happens it happens with Web2 companies too, right? You can overhype a launch or something, or everyone's on the earnings call or whatever. So again, I think it's short-term focused if you care about the minute-to-minute trading. But you make a great point, which is if the only way that, let's say, Impact Theory is making money is through trading of its tokens or whatever, this is why I don't know if just taking tax revenue off trading is the best way for Web3 companies to make all their money. Because in a weird contradictory way, it's you want the people to be holders, but if they're holding, not trading, which means if there's no fee
exactly, then you guys don't get revenue. Yeah.
Correct. So I think that's why it's Web3 is ultimately going to continuously evolve in finding new ways. I think there's been a lot of flack on people thinking about the subscription models or other things like that, where it's that actually might be the most honest way for some companies to do it, which is, hey, if you like our product, you're going to keep buying our product month to month, but you can always stop buying our product and then you'll be done, right? So we want to live and die by do people want to continuously want to engage with this IP or whatever?
Yeah.
So again, I think the hardest part, I think Tom says this, which is the redistribution of money is not the miracle. It's the creating of value and productivity and innovation that's the miracle. And that's the hard part. So whether you're Web3 or Web2, the thing is, again, can you create something of such quality that people are willing to pay you money for it, right? And so I would say nothing in that creative process changes. I will put an asterisk of I think Web3 companies are slightly more just leaning into the tech of things. So I think Web3 companies are probably more open to the idea of using AI in their processes, in their art, while Web2 companies might still, because they have such a Web2 audience, where it's again, as far as I know, not everyone in Web2 loves AI. I think there's a huge subset of the audience that hates AI, right?
Yep.
And so they have to kind of balance their consumer base on that. While, let's say, in Web3, we're all kind of innovators and we're all we're open to kind of adopting this technology. So when I, as creative art director for AI, I can start integrating that technology as fast as possible and find what pipelines can we use. How do we, initially when we created our NFTs and our ideas, we're hiring the best studios from Canada, we're partnering with the best artists from Disney, all this type of stuff to create the best quality art. But at the same time, that came with a high price, right? And again, Tom's willing to pay that price even personally. But I remember going back into invoices and all that, and even just researching how much Riot pays for art and all this type of stuff. It's just for a 3D model, T-pose, surface texture model, not rigged, not animated, not anything like that, just for the model, it costs $17,000 just for one character, right? And I'm that's just not sustainable if you're an indie company and trying to beat, Riot. You don't have Riot's $1 billion and blah, blah, blah. So when AI came into it, I was like, how do I innovate on the pipeline? And I found a way ultimately where, again, one AI tool is not going to get you from start to finish, but that's where like my job is ultimately testing out like 15 different AI tools, finding the best ones, the ones that are most cutting edge, tweaking it a little bit, creating like some human intervention here, taking this, modeling it, and then I was able to create a pipeline where instead of now taking like a month or 2 months and $17,000 to create a model, I can do it in a day, and it costs like $600, right? So it's like that's a huge like help for indie companies, right? Like Web3 companies that are on their edge and just want to continue to test and find like that really great product. So in that sense, I would say that's kind of the unique advantage potentially of being a Web3 company, and also, yeah, just that kind of open process of finding that most innovative path. I'm trying to think what else could be different. I think again, the financial modeling is interesting to see where we find that. I think obviously what we've seen with previous NFT companies too is just you have to continuously kind of launch new projects.
Yeah.
But then there's that idea of like, are you diluting kind of the holder base? And again, this goes back to, do you want holders and collectors and consumers, or do you want people who are trying to just financially bet on your product?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be really hard to figure out, like how you attract the right people. Because again, when I buy, let's say, or when I watch a Disney movie and I get the Disney ticket stub, am I saving that so I can like sell it later to, or I'm just like, I just enjoyed the movie. Like I'm happy with this, right? Like I got the experience I came here for, right?
Yeah.
And so I think once we get into that point where again, the product in itself is enjoyable to consume and you're just satisfied with that. And again, if you're lucky, maybe one day that baseball card you bought back in the day, it does go up in value. Now you have that choice. And we just want to give people in Web3 that choice. And I think in the digital world, that choice. But I think I think nowadays, again, I might just blame the counterfeiting big red button of like, oh, we can just print money and now everything becomes devalued and now everyone has to gamble. Because again, Pokemon, people just love Pokemon, but now people are fighting in Costco for Pokemon. And it's like they don't even play Pokemon.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So this happens in Web2 too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I just think we're just in an age where, again, it just becomes that double-edged sword of like when you financialize everything and at the same time when the money is broken, you just get into this weird structure where no longer people are enjoying the art. They're just too obsessed with like just feeding themselves properly or something. So I think once we kind of get that past point, and again, Bitcoin is like, it could be our savior. I have my own like, kind of my own like little asterisks of like, I think there is some risk to Bitcoin in the future.
Yeah, same. Quant.
I'll be curious. Not only quantum computing, I think there's actually a security flaw in potentially its token emissions. But like, I hope that people are trying to solve it. So like, same thing with the quantum thing. In the future, if quantum happens, I trust the coders.
Yeah. I saw that the U.S. government is spending a lot of money on cryptography resistance. I think that's what they call it.
Yeah, because we know that quantum is coming one day.
Yeah. Because if they're gonna store a huge amount of the reserve there, then they're gonna make sure it's secure.
So I still believe in it, and I think if we fix the money, then you fix the world. That's the saying that every Bitcoiner says.
If you enjoyed this video and you want to watch the full podcast, click here.